Thokozani Royals, yes, there go the hearts. Thokozani, Thokozani. Zuvarayenda ndogara chigaro chamatende uchatendeka watendeka ave zuvarayenda ndogara chigaro chamatende uchatendeka watendeka Thokozani Royals, Hotep, Hotep, how is everyone doing this evening? I didn't think I was coming on until I was told I needed to come on and address something that is all pervasive right now. And I want us to talk about this because it is very important. Bagwantu, Hotep Royals, Bagwantu, show me some love by some hearts, show me some love. I need to know that the majority of people on this live are melanated beings, Bagwantu. Please tap the screen. Let's get up in the algorithm also to make sure that others come on. You know, I never announce my lives. I simply come on when I am called to come on. So please just tap. Let's see how many people. Share this out to as many people as you possibly can so that we address. This is an in-house issue and a very important issue we need to talk about because it is in the ether, it is in the energy right now. I'm picking up a lot on it, and that's probably why I was told I needed to come and address this particular issue. And it is really the issue of fear. Now, I've talked about fear as I have taught about other things, especially currently. But the one thing I was told by the Gogos and the Mkulus to come and talk about is the fear of death. Okay, and to talk about the roots of this fear and why we are so fearful of death. Let's see how many more people join us. If we get up to 50, I'll get right into it. It's very important that we talk about this issue simply because it is the thing that is keeping us low vibrational. And I want to explain a few spiritual concepts to you guys so that you understand why fear of death is actually very harmful for us as Bagwantu. Thokozani, Ndauwe, Shewe, Tobela, Kamagwini, Muribwanji, Nangade, Fukilode. What have I forgotten? Kwaziwai, Ndauwe. Thank you guys for coming. So we're almost there, and I'm just going to get started. I don't know where Spirit is going to take us with this, but I'm just going to start where I am given. And the issue is this. Our ancient ancestors did not fear death. Kwaziwai, vimbai magadi yenyu. Our ancient ancestors did not fear death. In fact, when you look at that word, it's not our word for starters. We are borrowing this language. But you need to understand that they didn't fear death because they understood nature and they understood the cyclical manner in which things happen throughout the world. I'll give you an example. If you look at the sun, right? The sun starts where? It starts with sunrise. So we could say that is when the sun is newly born, sunrise. And then from sunrise, we have the midday sun, which is the moment of maturity for the sun. And then we have sunset, right? Which is when the sun is fully matured. And then what happens? Night comes and the sun, quote unquote, dies. Only to do what? only to rise again the following day. So it is born again. And so this cycle continues, where the sun rises, it's at its peak, it goes towards sunset, and it dies. It comes up in the morning, it reaches peak, and sunset comes, and it dies. And so the cycle continues. Now, as above, so below. The same way we say we are children of the sun is the same way in all the cycles of life that is represented in us. You are birthed. You live through phases of your life until you get to the peak, which is your maturity. After which you have what they call them, the sunset years of your life, where you're going towards transitioning. We are talking here about your physical manifestation. You were spirit before you were born. You manifest physically. Your physical manifestation, your body, matures and you reach your peak. After which you start going down as your body starts to tire and the organ system start to tire, and you reach your sunset years and your body transitions. But what happens to your spirit? Because we know that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So then what happens? Your spirit comes right back. Our ancient ancestors used to say there is no death, only transformation. The same way that the sun transforms throughout its cycle, so too do we transform throughout our cycle of life. But the cycle of life is never ending. We talked about this when we talked about reincarnation, right? Which is that I'm here for now. I'm probably at my peak. I don't know yet. I'm probably at my peak. And then I will go into the sunset phase. And this physical body will transition. And I will simply come back in a new avatar. My spirit lives forever. My spirit is as old as the sun itself. My spirit is forever cycling itself. So then the question comes, when was this fear of death introduced? Because our ancestors lived by this. And it was with the introduction of death and the fear that's associated with death of this physical body that we shortened our lifespan. Are you hearing me? Our ancient ancestors, and I'm talking pre-colonial, we're talking about people who used to live hundreds of years. And if you don't believe me, go and look up ancient Kemetic texts and you will find how old some of these pharaohs lived. Why? Because they understood the cyclical nature of things and they didn't focus on death as an end point to anything. They simply focused on living and creating. And so each of these phases of their lives, they were engaged in creative activities, in aligning with nature, and in making sure that they lived in Ma'at. That's all they did. Making sure that everything was in harmony, in balance, order, ethics, morality. So there was no need to fear anything. Fear for us was introduced when the colonizer came, because that is where they introduced this concept of heaven and hell. And you were scared into believing that you had to be a certain way to make it to heaven or be a certain way to make it to hell. That is when the fear of death was introduced, because nobody can ever be sure whether they're going to make it into heaven or not. Despite that crazy promise by Vanilla Jesus that he died and his blood, all that nonsense, that book still contradicts itself and says you could still die and go to hell. Despite that, there was this great father, this very loving father, made a sacrifice of his own son to save the world, but still the threat of hell exists. Why? If such a great sacrifice was made. And I always say, what kind of a father sacrifices their own child? Why not just get rid of Satan? Get rid of Satan, and then we're all good, right? So what I'm trying to specify and to emphasize to you, family, is the introduction of a birthday with a birth certificate and the introduction of it automatically implies a death day and a death certificate. This is what has shortened our lifespans because we live with an existential stress caused by the existential fear of death. How many people are going through their lives right now thinking, oh my gosh, I'm 50 and I haven't done this and I haven't done that and I haven't done that. Oh my God, I'm 50. I've probably got 25 more years to go. By saying that, you've already shortened your own lifespan. They tell you life expectancy is X, So they expect, the life expectancy for the average, in a developed country is 65. All that is going into your subconscious, and you're telling yourself, well, if I make it just past 65, if I make it to 80, it means that I've lived past the life expectancy. You are preoccupied, unnecessarily preoccupied with death. Guess what you're doing? You're programming yourself to go that route. All the stress hormones you release because of fear of death, everything else is going to cause your body to atrophy and to start to get old sooner. Are you hearing me? Our ancient ancestors didn't celebrate birthdays. You see, we've adopted a lot of nonsense that really is to our detriment. Because by saying there is a birthday, it implies that is when you came into existence. But we know that you were there before you were born. We know that birth is a ritual through which you pass from the spiritual through the portal who is goddess into this world as a physical being after spending 9 months, 9 being the number of completion, so that all these electromagnetic frequencies that create us, that create this physical, get to work. Then you exit into this world. And the minute you exit, everybody starts counting for you. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And every single one of those years, they commemorate that day, and it's just moving you closer towards death. And with everything enshrouded with death, oh my God, we're going to die, are we going to heaven, are we going to go to hell? And why do we cling to that narrative of heaven and hell? Because we don't know who we are. We've lost the truth of ourselves, which is that we are eternal beings. The sun is eternal. Just because the sun sets at night doesn't mean it doesn't exist, doesn't mean it's died. It's just going through its natural cycle. As above, so below. So why do you think you, by virtue of this body atrophying over time, that you die? You don't die. You transform. You simply transform and you come back. And you get to decide when you exit here by virtue of how you choose to reprogram your mind. If you are like our ancient ancestors, or you go back and align yourself with the way they lived close to nature, you can reprogram your mind. That is why we keep saying vomit the toxins of colonization, because that is literally what is killing us. literally and figuratively. Of course, we experience a lot of challenges now: insecticides, pesticides, poor drinking water, all those things. But still, here, you can reprogram your mind so that you're not constantly obsessed with the day of your passing, or obsessed with time to the extent that you're literally counting yourself out of this existence. You self are counting yourself out. Oh, you know what? I'm 60 years old. I'm too old to go to medical school. Says who? Says who? You're only as old as you tell yourself you are. And if you focus on this chronological naming of the years that they've got you trapped in, yeah, absolutely you're going to transition. And absolutely you're too old at 60 to go to medical school. Although I will tell you, I know somebody who went to medical school at 64. And this was several years ago. I think she's in her 80s now and has got a thriving practice. And she's alive. And she does not see herself retiring anytime soon, because she's very alert. Why? Because she chose not to limit herself. It's all here. So in the current time we're in, that existential fear of death is very prevalent because of all the uncertainty there is. And this is probably why I was sent here to tell you guys that it really is going to be up to you which way this all goes for yourself and for us as a collective. We need to divest from all of this nonsense we've been fed. And the time is now. If you're looking in the mirror and you see an old man or an old woman, or you're telling yourself, Ish, I'm getting old. Yeah, you are, because that is what you're putting out there. You're literally calling that in for yourself, because the universe doesn't know right from wrong. The universe won't say, no, you're not old. You can live as long as you want to live. No, the universe will say, oh, you're getting old? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what we'll give you. That's what you'll receive. That's what you're manifesting. That is why it's important to guard your conscious thoughts, because your conscious thought go into your subconscious and they become a program which is going to influence how you live your current life. It's all up to you. You are creator. You literally are creator of your own reality. If I didn't live it, I'd say, you know what, this is so cliche and so mumbo jumbo. Well, it's the truth. You get to create the reality you want. Somebody says, so forget the family. I don't know what that is about. But I really hope you guys are hearing where I'm going with all this. I really hope you guys are. It's going to take a lot, because it's like we are salmon who are swimming against the current. Why do I say we look like salmon swimming against the current? Because the way this system is so structured, it becomes so difficult. Like I'm saying, birthdays, right? How do you suddenly stop celebrating your birthday? Or how do you tell members of your family that actually, you know, this birthday thing, you're programming yourself for your end game, like for the end. How do you do that? You don't. You start living your truth. If what I'm saying resonates, start living your truth. I say this time and again, we are not here to proselytize. We are not evangelists. We don't do that nonsense. My coming and sharing certain things with you is I want to trigger that DNA memory, because you already know this. It's deeply embedded in you. You just forgot. Because you came into this incarnation absolutely knowing everything. And then because of programming and everything else, you forgot. So my telling you this, and I see a lot of people saying 1,000%, because something resonates. What is resonance? Resonance means what I'm saying to you is causing some vibration somewhere deep in you that says, yes, this is true. So if it resonates, do the necessary. Start living this experience of being an African spiritual being, having a human experience. Start living it. Everybody else around you will start to see the transformation that takes place within you, which will affect the outside, and they will get curious, and then they will ask you questions. But we're not here to shove, like, listen, we're nothing like the Bible thumpers. So don't disappoint me now and go and be the so-called spiritualist who's busy trying to convert people, because then you're not spiritual. You live this. You don't have to convince anybody of anything. Like, I'm not here to convince you, but I was told to come and share this information with you so that you understand better. If you really want to shift, if you really want to become the supreme being that you are, then you've got to divest from a lot of this nonsense that is out there about birth and death and guys. We are limitless beings. We are infinite beings. We are, you have so much control over your life to the extent that, like I said, you can decide when you transition, and you can decide how you want to come back. You want to come back and continue the mission you're on? Because if it's not complete, most likely that is where you want to come back so that you can take it a step further, a step further, a step further. And I can tell you, of my generation, a whole bunch of us are coming back. I'll tell you why. Because we are leaving so much undone. We are leaving so much undone. We're coming back. And remember, we're just at the beginning of the 2000 plus age of my aunt. Oh, we're going to come back because all hands need to be on deck. So maybe for a little bit, we might be ancestors assisting from that realm until you're like, you know what? I'm going back there. So understanding that you literally hold the power in your life. I've spoken to a lot of elderly people. I've spoken to several in Ndlovukazi, several elders who are in their, late 90s, some of them 100, and asking the same, like, what is the secret? And one main thing, don't worry or stress about anything. One specific one actually said, stop focusing so much on dying. There's so much dying going on around you. It's easy to get sucked into that. So, guard your thoughts about transitioning. Guard your thoughts about aging. Guard your thoughts about illness, because your body was created to heal itself. We've talked about Sehem, life force energy that sits at the base of your spine. When you activate that energy and it aligns all your chakras, and it goes from your coccyx through your root chakra, sacral chakra, solar plexus, heart chakra, all the way up. Those chakras are connected to organs. That stuff will incinerate whatever dis-ease is there, because it will bring you back into balance. So even there, you have control. So don't let these people, listen, as for that religion, in fact, all those religions, actually, they'll say those religions bring you life. There's no life in those religions. Actually, they bring you death. Yeah. Fear of death is one of the ways in which we lost everything that we had. Ancient warriors were not scared of death. They weren't scared to go on the front line, because they knew that, you can kill this avatar. You can literally, you can terminate this avatar. I'll exit and I'm going to come back. And so that warrior spirit was there. There was that courage, that bravery of knowing that, nah, man, I'm exiting this avatar and I'm doing it for a good cause and I'll be back. Spirit doesn't die, and you are a spirit having a human experience. Spirit is energy, and energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be transformed. So no, there's no need to fear death. There is no need to fear death, Babantu. And we know this about ourselves because we have a soul. We are spirit having a human experience. So you best believe you'll come back. And you can't live your life fearing death. We know who fears death a lot, which is why there's anti-aging this and auxiliaries of life where they're drinking people's blood in order to live longer. For what? Our ancient ancestors didn't get involved in that mess. That's some savagery right there. And they didn't get involved in it because there was no existential fear of death, because we knew you just come back. So why would you have to suck on the blood of little children? Because you want to live longer. Those who seek to live longer through nefarious means like that are the ones who have a reason to fear death. We don't. We don't, because we know we come back. Yeah, someone said, Black God says, if you come back, you will know you came back. I do, unequivocally so, and not once either. That's why I listen, you can take it or leave it, and you can just go away and say, this Gogo is crazy. But I can tell you unequivocally that I've been here before. And I have marks on my body. These things they call birthmarks that are testaments to the fact that I've been here before. Right here on my hand, you may not be able to see it. You may not see it, but some of you might see it. I have two fangs. Snake bite. I was born with those. And when I came in, I understood my phobia for snakes. Sure. Hey, listen, you say the word snakes. Now I don't, because I worked through it and I understand where that phobia came from. But I had such a phobia for snakes. I literally, like, you'd say the word snake, I'd pass out. Like if one of my kids just came and said, Mommy, snake, you just see me going, I was terrified, like petrified, until I understood. Birthmarks can be things. So I have these birthmarks here, right? Right here. And those birthmarks indicate that, because I was born like that. I was born with these two things here. And I remember that my elders, so I grew up in a village and I was born in a village. So when a child is born, one of the things the elder women do is they literally scrutinize and analyze this child and look at every single body part. They are looking for birthmarks. They are looking for signs that show something different or special about this particular child, because it is understood, again, that it could be an ancestor returned. Right? So, for example, if, it's an ancestor returned, maybe an uncle or an aunt passed on after she burnt herself with coffee on her thighs and there was a scar there. Well, a child might be born, and then while they're looking at her, they see a stain or a birthmark on her thigh. And then usually these are, I'm talking about old cronies. I'm talking about the elders in their 90s going to 100. And usually, because there are many of them looking over this child, one of them might say, so-and-so burnt herself. Do you remember she had this mark on her thigh because she burnt herself with tea or whatever? Then it's known immediately that this is her returned. Those birthmarks are the signs of reincarnation. And I have several of them all over me, including this mole here. Because there's a great of mine who had this exact mole. So there are things I have what this called or this is called an I don't know what white people call it, but I have a weird opening here in my ear. Right here you see. It looks like an earring hole, but I was born with that. And in my family, there's an ancient one that my grandfather, who's now passed on, knew. And my grandfather died 106. And she was the only one ever born with that. And what's interesting is they always laugh at me because they say I have her personality. Crazy woman. So there are those birthmarks that are familial within your own family, right? Your soul group. But then there can be birthmarks outside of your what I might call your bloodline, which will appear. I have those too. And I've had somebody read me, and I've done what is called regression, past life regression. And I was able to connect to those birthmarks by telling a story, which after I come out, we look and over my body and it's like, okay, there's that stab. So family, I'm trying to paint a picture for you using examples from my own life that there really is nothing to fear about death. Many of us escaped the trap of fearing death, probably by tapping into all the wisdom from former lives too, of knowing that I've been here before. Therefore, same way that I've been here before, I'm going to come back. So it's very important. I feel like we die and our children is the atom reproducing energy. No, your children are separate spirits from you. Your children and you are not the same spirit. That's why you don't have the exact same experiences. Your children are a part of you, but they are not you. And I think we need to clarify that very much because it gets people confused. Your children are coming here with their own life path and their own purpose, and are also probably reincarnating to do whatever it is they set out to do, or to complete what they left from a previous lifetime. I mean, there are people within families where their children have shared past lives with them, where who is your daughter today could have been your mother in a previous life. Happening a lot. So you come back as the daughter to somebody who was once in a former life your mother or your aunt. Interesting, isn't it? They're siblings who come in to this incarnation. And it turns out that one was a daughter and the other was a mother. Very common. And if you observe certain things, you start to see like, these two. This bond is more than just a sisterly bond. There's more going on here. And you find that the younger sister is very protective and wants to hover over the older sister. Meanwhile, that used to be the mother in a former life. It's because she was the mama in a former life. So she exhibits mama tendencies. And you're like, yeah, but your sister's older than you. Why are you mothering her? It doesn't make sense to us. But there is this existential knowledge in them that this was. And you find that the older sister is quite happy to be mothered by the younger sister. It's hilarious, actually. It's a beautiful thing to see, but it can be confusing. So you're busy saying, you're the oldest, you need to take care of your sisters. Meanwhile, you're confusing the hell out of them because this one, who is the younger sister, knows her mission. Like, this is my child for my life. I'm here to take care of her. Again. What do you say? So it becomes very, very important to understand these things. I see somebody who says, and if my daughter and I have the same birthmark, depends what the birthmark is. It could be that you were warrior sisters somewhere. It could be that you were twins. And this is the sign to show you that you were twins. If it's the exact same birthmark in the exact same place, it could be that you were identical twins, you and your daughter. Happens. My fear of death went away when I left Christianity. I'm actually excited for it. Yes, because it's an opportunity to transform. But you don't focus on it, right, Alicia? You're living your life. And you really, your life should be about, engaged in what your purpose currently is. That is what living in the now is. You're not living in fear of something that you don't even know when it's going to happen. So who cares? And the less you focus on it and the more engaged you are in activities that enrich you, in activities that you're passionate about, in activities that give you joy, well, death just keeps going further and further out. It just goes further and further out. Who cares? Like this old woman said, stop focusing on death so much. Everybody focused on death. There's so much death around. Don't get sucked into the trap. I was an elder who said that, and I was like, boom, the light went on. And understanding the laws that govern the universe and understand the natural cycles of life really, it just cemented everything for me to say, wow, the sun rises, the sun reaches maturity at midday, and then the sun sets. And then the sun rises again, the sun reaches maturity, the sun sets, and then it disappears, and then it comes back up again, reborn. After understanding that, the moon has the same cycle too, right? We have the new moon, which is its Kepera or its birth, right? Then it goes through all its different phases until we reach maturity, which is the full moon. And then it looks like it just falls out of the sky, right? And then it's reborn again as a new moon. And so on. And everything goes in cycles. Even everything within your own physical body goes in cycles. Look at the water cycle. Everything is cyclical. So there's no end to anything. And to use the sun and to use Kemetic terms, I don't want to confuse, but I'm going to tell you this so you understand, right? We have the sun, who is called Ra. In the morning, we have Ra in Kepera. Kepera means the birth. At midday, we have Ra, the mature. At sunset, i.e. sort of death, if you like, we have Atum, atom. And then coming back in the morning, we have Kepera. So those are the three phases, if you like, of Atum. Kepera, Ra, Atum. Kepera, Ra, Atum, in a cycle, round and round and round. Yes, solid, liquid, gas, solid, liquid, gas. As above, so below. As within, so without. Right? Look at the seasons. Right? We have the planting. Then we have the harvest. Then we have winter where everything lies fallow. You could say that is the death, if you like. And then it comes back again. We have spring. Everything comes to life, rebirth. Then we have maturity, which is where everything is growing and whatever is happening and harvesting. And then we have winter, where nothing really grows, everything goes down, and then we start all over again. Ne? So we are eternal. The same way nature cycles, we are nature, we also cycle right round. So no need to fear death, family. And in the craziness that's going on, don't focus on it. I know it's scary, planes falling out of the sky and what. Look, it's not your time, it's not your time, and you don't need to focus on that because you will shorten your lifespan simply because of fear. Fear is a low vibrational emotion, and most of the time What we fear is an illusion because it hasn't even happened. It hasn't even happened. Imagine you're fearing death. Death is so... It hasn't happened. How are you fearing something that is still an illusion? Because when we really think about it, the future is illusory. It's an illusion. There's nothing real about the future. Just like there's nothing real about the past. It's already happened. It's not real anymore. We have memories of it, but it's not real. The reality is here and now. Live in the here and now. Live and flourish in the here and now. Never mind what circumstances and crap is going on around you. We know that it ain't got nothing to do with us. So don't invest your energy in it at all. See, it seems to be the same message every single time I come here. Pull your energies back to yourselves and focus on your growth and understanding who you are. Because understanding who we are is how we're going to get out of this, and we're going to get out of this and we're going to thrive. We are going to thrive. That has been assured. We are going to thrive after this great cleansing. So get yourself ready to be in that space where you do thrive because you know exactly who you are. And nobody must ever again come and be allowed to fool us. We've had 2,000 years of utter hell, and we must never, ever allow ourselves and our children and future generations to ever be bamboozled like this ever again. Doesn't matter whether the creatures are coming from the mountain caves. It doesn't matter where they come from, wherever they could be. They could be some subterranean species of reptile. Never again will we be fooled. So don't let them play with your mind now. We're in the process of decolonizing. We're in the process of unlearning in order to relearn who we are. Don't let them mess with your mind. Everything that's going on is an illusion. It's supposed to mess with our minds and keep us trapped in that state of fear, because that energy of fear is that loose energy that they need so badly in order to survive. Starve them of that energy by any means necessary. Starve them. By doing so, we speed up this cleanup. Speed it up. And the same way we were alone for a long time on this planet before anybody else showed up, we won't be alone on this planet once again. We're going to be alone again. Can't wait. All right, family, I love you. And I'm going to leave you with those words. Death is nothing. It's simply a transition. A normal part of a cycle, which you don't need to concern yourself with because you're concerned with creating and living in the now. Don't live in the past. Don't illusion. In the future, illusion. We live in the now. We live in the now to work for a vision that we have for the future. But truth is, that vision is a vision. It's not real yet. Ne? On that note, let's Thokozeni. Love you guys so much. Love you, Black Nation. Love you, Bagwantu. Love you, Royals. Love you, Divine Gods and Goddesses. Love, 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 love. Thokozeni.